everyone, blessed be, and I wanted to show you how I set up my cloche for the summer for Litha, for my altar. This is going to be the centrepiece for my display for Litha, and I wanted it to be full of lots of greenery, lots of flowers, to represent how abundant nature is at this time, because it's summer. There's lots of flowers and plants everywhere, lots of animals, food's abundant, crops are ripening. It's just a time of the year where everything is really full of life. So that's what I wanted to use this to represent. So first thing what I did was I removed all the stuff that was already on there, and the reason I use hot glue is because I can use just little dabs of hot glue and it will hold everything in position until I want to remove it. And hot glue will just snap off if you apply enough force from the surface of this base. So it's easy to remove from objects and reuse them. And also it means I can dismantle the cloche setup and then do a new one as the seasons change. So obviously after this, the next one I'll do will be like an autumnal theme one. So first things, I'm using artificial as well, by the way, because again, it's reusable, it's cheap, and also they don't trigger my allergies. So as you can see, I'm putting plenty of these fern leaves on that I found. I like these because they're quite detailed, even though they're made out of plastic, they look quite good actually. And I wanted it to look like he's kind of in the middle of the forest, the stag. I wanted it to look like he's mixed in with the undergrowth, he's in amongst the leaves, and like a soft bed of ferns he's standing in. I wanted to really represent the forest in this one, because the forest is one place where I'm always really happy and at peace when I go for nature walks. I've always felt like a lot of pleasure and peace from walking around in a forest or from going to the seaside, but mainly the forest, because the forest is more easily accessible from where I live. But I do love the ocean as well. I'm hoping to go there again once everything's opened back up and life returns back to normal. So I'm adding plenty of leaves. I wanted it to look like quite dense undergrowth, and a nice thick bush of ferns. And what I'm doing is just to put a little bit of glue on the middle of the fern leaf to stick it to the back of the stag, or I put a little bit at the bottom and a little bit in the middle, so it sticks to the base as well as the back of the stag, depending on how long the piece is that I'm using. And I use the smallest amount possible, because then it's easy to remove later on to be recycled, so I can reuse these things over and over again. So like I can use these leaves next year for Litha. So that's one advantage with the artificial. Plus the flowers wouldn't last very long if they were in here, because I wouldn't be able to put them in water really. So yeah, and I'm going to make it nice and green and full of life. That's what I want the appearance to be. I've also added a little robin figure. I've had that on my altar space for ages now. I tend to always keep that little robin on there. I like it because it represents nature. It represents my relatives that have passed, because they love robins. I've always loved robins. There's always been like a sort of strong family connection with robins. Like my nan used to see a lot of them when she used to do her gardening. My granddad used to see a lot of them when he was in the garden, and I have got like a family of them that live in my garden and come back every year. And they're out and about now feeding their babies, and they're just nice. And I always remember seeing them in the forest when I was a child as well. So yeah, I like to include that on my altar. It just makes me smile, makes me happy. And then the little owl and hedgehog figures I've had probably since I was about, 12 or something like that, 10 or 12. There were two little figures I picked up with my pocket money when I was a kid. I'd gone out on a trip somewhere and picked them up, and for ages the hedgehog's been missing, and I found it the other day and I was like, right, I'm definitely making sure they go in there so I know where they are and they can stay together. The owl was on for the previous setup for spring, but I want to include him anyway because I wanted more animals as well as more flowers on this. I would like to get like a little rabbit with the same sort of, made out the same sort of material as the stag and the robin, but I haven't found one yet for a price that I want to pay. So for now, this is what I'm using. I do want to include some butterflies or bumblebees in this, but I need to make those. I haven't made them yet. So as you can see, I'm just putting a blob of glue on the bottom of the fern and just sticking it to the base. This one I took off and repositioned because I'd stuck it on backwards. And then just put a little bit of glue at the back, just on the main stem in the middle, just to hold it in position so it doesn't fall over. And then I've got lots of these little pieces. These were like the little tiny ends that were in the on the little bunch from the shop, so I've included those in the front. These two leaves are from a bunch of Lily of the Valley artificial flowers. And Lily of the Valley always remind me of summer because I have them growing in my garden, and a whole bunch of them pop up during the summer months, and just create this nice little area of my garden that's just all very colourful and flowery. So I added the leaves first because I've separated the flowers from the leaves. This is just so I can use the leaves to make the undergrowth, the foresty bit, look a bit more full, and give a bit of depth to the leaves that the stag is standing in. So it looks like that so far, and I've put lots of the little leaves around the bird so it looks like he's sitting in a nice comfortable patch of leaves. And then just repositioning so you can see it a bit better on camera. And then in a bit I'm going to start adding the flowers. So what I've done is I've taken the flowers of the Lily of the Valley, just took the little plastic bit off the wire stem, and I'm going to place those in between the leaves here and there. And because they've got like a sort of like cup to the end of them where they used to be on the branch, it's quite easy to stick these into place. You just put some glue in that little cup piece and then stick it onto the base like so. And I did find that these held in place quite well, especially with having the ferns in there. And I'm just spreading these out so I get the little flowers everywhere, and they look really good. They're solid plastic, and like the petals pop on and off the stems, but I couldn't believe how well how good they look considering they're made out of plastic. So I was quite pleased with these as well. And this is kind of what it looks like when they grow in my garden. I just get them popping up in between other leaves and plants. It's really nice. And then I wanted to add some sunflowers. I found these sunflowers which have like a bit of a fuzzy brown middle to them, so they look a little bit more realistic than the ones I've used before. And obviously I wanted to include sunflowers to represent the sun and the warmth and represent the summer, because in the summer months you always get the sunflowers growing and you know they're in full bloom and they look really nice, and I wanted to include those as well. Not only do they give height to the arrangement in the cloche, they also add that splash of colour as well. And for these, it was a case of putting some glue at the bottom of them, the bottom of the stem, bending the flower, just position it to make sure it faced the way I wanted it to face, and the leaves, and then gluing it to the back of the leaves that are at the back of the stag as well, just to hold them into place. I then added some little sprigs here and there of some little mini flowers from this other bunch that I found, and also glued to the base some of this moss stuff from my miniature supplies. to make it look like this was all growing and underneath there was like green grass and moss. I suppose I could have added some little rocks with moss on as well, or something like that, but I didn't think about that at the time. I just wanted to make it look really lush and green and full of foliage. And then once I put the dome on, it looked like this. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Blessed be, and bye for now.